Hyun pressed the detonator. Throughout the colony, small explosives activated simultaneously. The power core went offline, emergency lights flickered and died. The entire asteroid colony plunged into darkness. For 3 seconds there was perfect silence. Then chaos erupted. The pirates shouted in confusion, their communications cutting out at the same moment the lights failed. The automated turrets, reprogrammed by Hyun, swiveled and began firing on Krell signatures. The sound of plasma fire echoed through the corridors. Guards who had been hunting through the colony suddenly found themselves under attack by their own defense systems. The hostages, prepared by Hyun's warning, scrambled toward the medical bay. They moved in the darkness, guided by emergency glow strips that Hyun had planted earlier. Some were crying, some were praying, but all of them ran. In the command center, Vexthor roared with rage. What is happening? Someone report. But his communication system was dead. His screen showed nothing but static. He grabbed his personal weapon and charged out of the command center, followed by Draxel and his personal guard unit. Hyun stood in the central dome, watching the chaos unfold through his tactical visor. The visor gave him thermal vision in the darkness. He could see everything. The pirates stumbling around blind. The hostages making their escape. The automated turrets continuing their programmed assault. He pulled out a small device and connected it to the colony's PA system. His voice echoed through every speaker in the facility, calm and clear in the middle of the chaos. Vexthor, this is your only warning. Release the hostages and surrender. You have lost. The words carried through the darkness like a ghost's whisper. Every pirate in the colony heard them. Every hostage heard them and felt a spark of hope. Vexthor heard them and felt something he had not experienced in years. Real, genuine fear. Who are you? The warlord shouted into the darkness, knowing his voice would not carry like the PA system. Show yourself, coward. Hyun moved. He dropped from his position in the ceiling supports and landed silently behind a group of 5 pirates who were trying to restore power to a section. They heard nothing, saw nothing until he was among them. The fight lasted 8 seconds. Hyun moved through them like water flowing around stones. A strike to a nerve cluster here, a pressure point there. One guard received a kick that broke his knee. Another took an elbow to the head that shut down his consciousness. None of them managed to fire their weapons before they fell. Hyun took one of their communication devices and spoke into it. Section 7 clear. Hostages evacuated. 37 guards incapacitated. The pirates heard his voice on their emergency channel. They heard his calm tone, the way he reported their defeat like he was reading a grocery list. Terror spread through their ranks faster than any fire. It's the ghost, one pirate screamed. The thing that's been hunting us. It's not a ghost, Hyun said, still speaking into the communication device. I'm human. From Earth. And you made a mistake when you took these people hostage. He moved to the next group. 6 pirates this time, clustered together with weapons raised, shooting at shadows. Hyun used a flashbang grenade, a simple tool but effective. The bright light and loud noise in the darkness overwhelmed their senses. While they were stunned, he moved through them with precise strikes. More pirates fell. More sections were cleared. Hyun worked systematically, using the darkness and confusion to his advantage. Every engagement lasted less than 10 seconds. Every pirate who saw him only saw him for a moment before falling unconscious. In the industrial section, Draxel gathered a force of 30 warriors. The massive Krell second in command organized them into a defensive formation. Stay together, he ordered. Watch all directions. Whatever this thing is, it cannot take all of us at once. Hyun observed them from above. Draxel was right. He could not take 30 armed warriors in direct combat. That would be suicide, but he did not need to fight them all at once. He activated the explosive charges he had planted earlier. The mining equipment exploded with tremendous noise. The blast knocked several pirates off their feet. Rock and metal rained down. The defensive formation broke apart as warriors scattered to avoid the debris. Now they were separated. Now they were vulnerable. Hyun dropped into the chaos. He moved between the confused pirates, striking from unexpected angles. A guard turned left. Hyun was on his right. Another looked up. Hyun came from below. They could not track him. He was too fast, too unpredictable. Draxel saw a shadow moving through his warriors and charged toward it. The massive Krell was stronger and larger than Hyun by a significant margin. His fists could crush metal. His armor could deflect plasma fire. But Hyun had fought large opponents before. Size was not everything. Speed mattered. Timing mattered. Understanding body mechanics mattered. When Draxel swung his enormous fist, Hyun was not there. The human ducked under the blow and struck at the joint in the alien's knee. Draxel stumbled. Hyun followed up with strikes to nerve clusters in the alien's back. The Krell's nervous system, different from human biology, still responded to applied pressure in specific locations. Draxel tried to grab Hyun, but the human slipped away like smoke. Another strike. Another pressure point. The massive warrior's movements became slower, less coordinated. Finally, Hyun swept the alien's legs out from under him and applied a chokehold that cut off blood flow to the brain. Draxel, Vexthor's second-in-command, fell unconscious. The remaining pirates in the industrial section saw their strongest warrior defeated by this small creature from the death world. They ran. Discipline broke. Fear took over. Hyun let them run. He needed them to spread the fear to the others. Terror was a weapon as effective as any explosive. He moved through the colony, section by section, clearing out the pirates. Some surrendered when they saw him. Others tried to fight and fell within seconds. A few tried to hide, but Hyun's thermal vision found them in the darkness. After 90 minutes, most of the pirate force was incapacitated or had surrendered. Only one group remained. Vexthor and his personal guard, about 50 of his best warriors, had barricaded themselves in the central dome. Hyun approached the central dome carefully. This would be different from the previous engagements. Vexthor had time to prepare. The warlord had gathered his remaining forces and set up defensive positions. They had lights powered by portable generators. They had clear sight lines and overlapping fields of fire. Hyun could not slip through them unnoticed this time. This would require a direct approach. He stood at the entrance to the central dome and spoke through the PA system one more time. Vexthor, your forces are defeated. Your systems are down. Your warriors have fallen. Surrender now and no one else needs to get hurt. Inside the dome, Vexthor stood surrounded by his remaining guards. The warlord's armor was scratched and dented from the chaos. His eyes burned with rage and desperation. You think you have won? You are one creature. One! I still have 50 of my best warriors. Come face me, human. Come and die like the rest. Hyun checked his equipment. He was running low on supplies. His body was tired from 48 hours of constant action. He had taken some hits during the fighting. Nothing serious, but enough to slow him down. His left shoulder ached where a plasma bolt had grazed him, but the hostages were safe. That was what mattered. They were locked in the medical bay, protected, waiting for rescue. His mission was almost complete. Only one task remained. He stepped into the central dome. 50 Krell warriors faced him. Their weapons were raised. Their eyes showed both fear and determination. They knew what he had done to their comrades. They knew he was dangerous, but they still believed in numbers. 50 against 1. The math seemed simple. Hyun walked forward slowly. He did not run. He did not charge. He just walked, calm and steady like he was taking a stroll through a park on Earth. Vexthor stepped forward from the group. I am Vexthor, warlord of the Krell, conqueror of 12 systems, undefeated in personal combat. Who are you to challenge me? Hyun stopped walking. He stood in the center of the dome, surrounded by enemies. My name is Kang Hyun. I am a human from Earth, and I am here to end your terror. Earth, Vexthor spat the word. A death world. I have heard of your species. You think surviving a harsh planet makes you warriors? Let me show you what a real warrior can do. The warlord drew 2 massive blades from his back. Each blade was as long as Hyun was tall. He charged forward with shocking speed for something so large. Hyun moved. His body reacted with all the training of his Earth years, all the combat experience, all the genetic advantage of a species that evolved to survive impossible conditions. He dodged the first blade by centimeters. The second blade came at his head and he ducked under it. Vexthor followed up with a kick that would have broken every bone in Hyun's body. But the human was not there. He had rolled to the side and come up near the warlord's flank. His combat knife flashed out, finding a gap in the alien's armor. The blade cut deep. Vexthor roared in pain and surprise. How could this small creature hurt him? His armor was designed to stop plasma fire, but Hyun had studied Krell biology during his briefing. He knew where the armor was weakest. He knew where the vital organs were located. And he knew that sometimes a simple blade was more effective than high-tech weapons. The fight continued. When the power goes out, you need to get everyone to the medical bay. It's the most secure location. Lock the doors from inside. Don't Opie Vexthor stood in his command center, staring at the status reports with growing frustration. Something was wrong. He could feel it in his bones, that warrior's instinct that had kept him alive through 100 battles. 3 more guards did not report for duty change. His second-in-command, Draxel, said. The large Krell warrior looked confused. They are not answering communication calls. Find them, Vexthor ordered. This was the 5th missing guard in the last 24 hours. At first he had thought they were sleeping or drunk. But 5 guards? That was not coincidence. That was enemy action. But who was the enemy? The Althani hostages were weak and scared. His sensors showed no ships approaching the colony. No military forces, no rescue teams. So where were his warriors going? In the colony's maintenance tunnels, Hyun moved silently past another unconscious Krell guard. The alien would wake up in a few hours with a headache, but nothing worse. Hyun had learned long ago that killing created noise and drew attention. Unconscious enemies were quieter. He had been working for 36 hours now with only brief moments of sleep. His body was tired, but his mind remained sharp. Earth's gravity was stronger than the artificial gravity in the colony. Moving here felt easier, lighter. His muscles were designed for a harsher world. He reached a junction box and opened it carefully. Inside were the control circuits for the camera system in Section 7. Hyun pulled out a small device and attached it to the circuits. Now he controlled these cameras. He could make them show recorded footage instead of live images. The guards in the command center would see empty corridors even when Hyun walked through them. One system at a time, he was taking control of the colony away from the pirates. They did not know it yet, but they were losing. He moved to the industrial section next, where hostages were being forced to mine crystals under guard. Hyun observed from the shadows. 20 guards watched over 200 workers. The miners looked exhausted, their movements slow and painful. Some had injuries that were not treated. Hyun's jaw tightened. These pirates had no honor. They treated innocent people like tools, like property. He had seen similar things during his time in Earth's military. Criminals who thought strength gave them the right to hurt others. They were always the same, no matter what planet they came from. He planted 3 small explosive charges around the industrial section. These were not large explosives. They would not hurt anyone, but they would destroy the mining equipment and create chaos when the time came. As he worked, a patrol of 4 Krell guards walked past his hiding spot. They were talking in their language, but Hyun's translator device picked up the words. Something is hunting us, one guard said nervously. 5 warriors gone, just gone. Like ghosts took them. There are no ghosts, another guard replied, but his voice did not sound confident. They probably got drunk and fell asleep somewhere. All 5? At the same time? The first guard made a sound of disbelief. I'm telling you, something is here. Something we cannot see. Hyun waited until they passed, then continued his work. Good. Fear was spreading. The pirates were starting to doubt themselves, starting to look over their shoulders. That was exactly what he wanted. In the command center, Vexthor slammed his fist on the table. Shut down all the maintenance tunnels. Seal every access point. If something is moving through them, we trap it. Draxel hesitated. Commander, if we seal the tunnels, we cannot move between sections easily. It will slow our patrols. Do it anyway, Vexthor growled. I don't care about convenience. I care about finding whoever is doing this, the order went out. All across the colony, maintenance hatches were locked and sealed. Guards were posted at critical junctions. The pirates thought they were closing a trap, but Hyun had expected this. He had already moved out of the tunnel systems and into the ventilation shafts. While the Krell were busy sealing one route, he was using another. They were always reacting to his last move, never predicting his next one. He reached a computer terminal in a quiet corner of the colony. His fingers moved across the keyboard, typing commands. He accessed the automated defense systems, the turrets that the pirates had set up to protect their position. With a few commands, he changed the targeting parameters. The turrets would still work, but now they would recognize Krell armor as hostile. When the time came for his final attack, these weapons would fire on the pirates instead of defending them. Hours passed. The colony grew darker as Hyun sabotaged more systems. Lights flickered. Communication channels developed strange delays. The climate control made rooms too hot or too cold at random. Each problem was small, but together they created an atmosphere of uncertainty. Vexthor felt it all falling apart. His warriors were jumpy, shooting at shadows. Equipment was failing constantly, and still more guards disappeared. The count was up to 9 now. 9 trained warriors gone without a trace. "Bring me the hostage leader," he ordered suddenly. "The one they call Nira." Draxel looked surprised. "Commander? If there is someone hunting us, maybe the hostages know something. Bring her now." Guards dragged Nira to the command center. She tried to stay calm, but her hearts were beating fast with fear. She had Hyun's communicator hidden in her clothing. She could not let them find it. Vexthor looked down at the small Althani woman. "Something is happening in my colony. Guards are disappearing. Systems are failing. Do you know anything about this?" Nira shook her head. "No, we are just prisoners. We know nothing. Liar." Vexthor's hand shot out, grabbing her throat and lifting her off the ground. "You think I am stupid? You think I don't notice the way you whisper to the other hostages? Tell me what you know, or I start executing 10 people every hour instead of every day." From his hiding spot in the ventilation shaft above the command center, Hyun watched. His hand moved to his knife. He could drop down right now, attack Vexthor, maybe save Nira. But that would expose him too early. The timing was not right. He needed the pirates more confused, more tired, more spread out. But if Vexthor hurt Nira, Hyun would act regardless of timing. Nira struggled to breathe. "I know nothing." Vexthor stared into her eyes for a long moment. Then he threw her to the floor. "Lock her in the detention cell. If I don't get answers soon, she will be the first to die in tomorrow's execution." Guards dragged Nira away. Hyun followed through the ventilation system, tracking where they took her. The detention cell was a small room with 1 guard outside. He memorized the location. He would free her when the time came. As night fell in the colony, measured by the artificial day-night cycle, Hyun prepared for the next phase. He had spent 36 hours gathering intelligence and creating small problems. Now it was time to make bigger moves. He reached the colony's main power core, a massive reactor that provided energy to all systems. The core was protected by 6 guards and multiple security measures. But Hyun had already disabled most of the security through his earlier computer infiltration. He waited in the shadows, watching the guards. They were tired from double shifts. The environmental changes he had made, the lower oxygen and colder temperature, were affecting them. 1 guard yawned. Another sat down, breaking protocol. Hyun moved. He crossed the distance to the first guard in complete silence. His hand covered the alien's mouth while his other arm applied pressure to the carotid artery, cutting off blood to the brain. The guard went limp in seconds. Hyun lowered him gently to the floor. The second guard turned around and saw his companion gone. "Hey, where?" Hyun was already behind him. The guard dropped unconscious before he could finish his sentence. One by one, the remaining guards fell. Hyun worked with the efficiency of long practice. This was not his first infiltration mission. He had done similar operations on Earth, in places where civilians needed rescue and enemies held all the advantages. The location changed, but the principles remained the same. With the guards unconscious, Hyun approached the power core. He planted explosive charges at key points. These were larger than his previous explosives. When they detonated, they would not destroy the reactor completely. That would kill everyone in the colony. Instead, they would disable it temporarily, shutting down power to everything except life support. But that would come later. For now, he set the charges on remote detonation and moved to his next target. He found the pirate communication center, a room full of equipment that connected all the guards throughout the colony. More sabotage here. More systems corrupted. When the attack came, the pirates would not be able to coordinate their response. As dawn approached in the artificial cycle, Vexthor called an emergency meeting. All his officers gathered in the command center. The warlord's face showed barely controlled rage. "We are being hunted," he said bluntly. "I don't know by what or by whom, but something is in this colony, picking off our warriors and destroying our systems. This ends now." He pointed to the tactical display. "We are going to sweep every section, every room, every tunnel. 20 warriors per team. We move together. We search everywhere. And when we find whatever is doing this, we kill it." The order went out. The pirates organized into hunting parties. They moved through the colony in force, weapons ready, searching for their invisible enemy. The stealth pod cut through space without making a sound. Inside the small craft, Hyun sat in complete darkness, breathing slowly and evenly. He had done insertions like this many times before, dropping into dangerous places where enemies waited. The location changed, but the feeling never did. That quiet moment before action began when training took over and fear became focus. The pod's computer beeped softly. They were approaching Veridon 7. Hyun checked his equipment one last time. His tactical visor was secure. His tools were in place. He carried no guns, nothing that would make noise or attract attention. Just a combat knife, some climbing gear, and basic electronics. Sometimes the simplest tools were the best. The pod aligned itself with a supply drone that was scheduled to deliver food to the colony. The pirates were expecting the drone. They would not be expecting what came with it. Hyun felt the pod dock gently against the drone's cargo section. His fingers moved across the control panel, opening the maintenance hatch. Cold air hit him as he entered the cargo drone. The space was filled with boxes of food supplies. Hyun moved between them quietly, finding the access panel he had memorized from the station blueprints. His hands worked quickly, opening the panel and revealing the maintenance shaft beneath. This shaft led directly into the colony's lower levels, far from the main guard posts. The drone began its landing sequence. Hyun could hear the vibrations of the engines and the clank of landing gear extending. He climbed into the maintenance shaft and pulled the panel closed behind him. Now he was inside enemy territory. The mission had truly begun. He moved through the shaft like a shadow. His training from Earth had taught him how to move silently, how to become part of the darkness. The shaft was narrow and cold, barely wide enough for a human. But Hyun had crawled through worse places, mud and water and broken glass during training exercises that pushed human bodies to their limits. This was uncomfortable but manageable. After 20 minutes of crawling, he reached a junction point. The shaft opened into a small service room filled with pipes and electrical systems. Hyun dropped down carefully, his feet making no sound on the metal floor. He activated his tactical visor and began scanning the area. The visor showed him heat signatures through the walls. 6 Krell guards were in the corridor outside, patrolling in a pattern. Hyun watched them for several minutes, counting the seconds between each pass. 30 seconds here, 45 seconds there. Patterns meant predictability. Predictability meant opportunity. He pulled out a small device and attached it to the electrical panel. This device would give him access to the colony's computer systems. He typed commands quietly, his fingers moving across the interface. First, he needed to know where the hostages were being held. Second, he needed to map the pirate positions. Third, he needed to find ways to move without being seen. The computer system showed him everything. The hostages were divided into 3 groups. The largest group was in the main habitat dome, about 800 people crammed into a space meant for 200. The second group was in the industrial section, forced to continue mining operations. The third group was in the medical bay, injured people and those too weak to work. Hyun downloaded all the data to his visor. Now he could see the entire colony layout in his mind. The guard positions, the camera locations, the patrol routes. Knowledge was power. In Special Forces training, they had taught him that intelligence work was more important than shooting accuracy. Know your enemy, know the terrain, and you already had half the victory. His next target was the Environmental Control Station. It was located in the engineering section, 2 levels above his current position. Hyun checked his visor again. 3 guards between him and his destination. He would need to move carefully. He opened the service room door just a crack. The corridor outside was empty for the moment. Hyun slipped through the gap and pressed himself against the wall. His dark clothing blended with the shadows. The emergency lighting in the colony had been dimmed by the pirates to save power, which worked in his favor. A Krell guard walked past, less than 3 meters away. The alien was huge, over 2 meters tall, with thick armor plating covering his body. He carried a plasma rifle that could burn through walls. But the guard was not alert. He was bored, checking his communication device instead of watching the corridor. Hyun waited until the guard passed, then moved in the opposite direction. He reached a stairwell and began climbing. Each step was placed carefully. Each movement was controlled. Speed was less important than silence. Rushing got you killed. On the second level, he encountered his first real problem. 2 guards were standing at the entrance to the engineering section, talking to each other in their harsh language. They were not moving, not patrolling. They were just standing there, blocking the only entrance. Hyun studied the situation. He could not wait for them to move. Time was important. Every hour he spent preparing was an hour the hostages remained in danger. He needed to act. He pulled out a small device that looked like a metal coin. This was a sonic distractor, a tool used by Earth's special forces. He set the timer for 30 seconds and rolled it down the corridor. The device skittered across the floor, making a small noise. The guards noticed immediately. They raised their weapons and moved toward the sound, speaking urgently into their communicators. As they walked away from the door, Hyun moved. He was across the corridor and through the engineering section entrance in 4 seconds. The guards never saw him. Inside the engineering section, he found the environmental control station. It was a large room filled with computers and equipment that managed the colony's air, water, and temperature. Hyun sat down at the main console and began working. He did not sabotage the life support. That would kill the hostages along with the pirates. Instead, he made subtle changes. He decreased the oxygen content by 2%, just enough to make the Krell guards slightly tired and less alert. The Krell needed higher oxygen levels than humans. This small change would affect them, but not the Althani hostages, who required less oxygen. He also adjusted the temperature, making it slightly cooler. Again, not enough to cause real harm, but enough to be uncomfortable for the Krell, who preferred warm environments. Small advantages added up. A tired, uncomfortable enemy made mistakes. His work in the environmental control station took 15 minutes. When he was done, he uploaded a virus into the pirate communication network. This virus would not shut down their systems immediately. That would be too obvious. Instead, it would cause random glitches and delays. Messages would arrive late. Camera feeds would freeze for a few seconds. Small problems that would frustrate the pirates and make them doubt their equipment. Hyun had learned something important during his years in Special Forces. You did not need to destroy an enemy completely to defeat them. You just needed to make them confused, tired, and afraid. Break their confidence and they would break themselves. He left the engineering section and moved deeper into the colony. His next objective was reconnaissance. He needed to see the enemy with his own eyes, not just on computer screens. He needed to understand how they moved, how they thought, how they reacted to problems. For the next 6 hours, Hyun moved through the colony like a ghost. He crawled through ventilation shafts. He hid in storage closets. He climbed along ceiling supports that most species could not reach. The Krell had excellent military training, but they had never fought an enemy like this. They did not know that humans could move through spaces that seemed too small, could stay silent for hours, could survive on just water and energy bars while remaining fully alert. He found the hostages in the main habitat dome. They were crowded together, sitting on the floor, their faces showing fear and exhaustion. Krell guards walked around the edges of the group, weapons ready. Hyun counted the guards. 12 in this section alone. All of them looked bored but dangerous. He wanted to act immediately to free them right now, but that would be suicide. He had to be patient. He had to prepare everything perfectly. One person could not fight 12 armed guards and win. Not in open combat, but one person could move unseen, could create confusion, could turn the pirates' own systems against them. Hyun found a hidden spot in the ventilation system where he could observe the hostages. He pulled out a small communication device and set it to a secure frequency. Then he waited. One of the hostages stood up to get water from the dispenser. She was an Althani woman, young with the same facial features Hyun had seen in Lyra's picture. This was Nira, the sister who was supposed to be in the medical section. She must have been moved. Hyun activated his communicator and set it to vibrate instead of making sound. He dropped it carefully through the ventilation grate. It landed on the floor near Nira's foot. She looked down, confused. Then she saw the small device and quickly picked it up. "Don't react," Hyun's voice came through the communicator, quiet and calm. "Don't look around. Just listen. My name is Hyun. I'm here to rescue you. The Galactic Council sent me." Nira's eyes widened slightly, but she controlled herself. She pretended to drink water while holding the communicator close to her ear. "In approximately 36 hours, I'm going to create a distraction," Hyun continued. The human transport ship docked at the council station exactly on schedule. Counselor Thane stood in the landing bay with the tactical team, waiting to meet Earth's champion. He felt nervous, though he tried not to show it. Beside him stood Commander Vosk. who had made his opinion about this plan very clear. The Zentari warrior thought sending one human was a waste of time. Lyra waited near the back of the group. She had not slept in 3 days. Every hour that passed meant more danger for her sister and the other hostages. The pirates had already killed 10 people as a warning. She desperately needed this human to be everything Ambassador Park had promised. The airlock door opened with a hiss of pressure equalizing. Everyone watched carefully, waiting to see what would emerge. When the human stepped through, Thane felt his hopes sink like a stone in water. The man was ordinary. He stood about average height for a human, which made him shorter than most Zentari, and only slightly taller than the Althani. He wore simple clothes, not armor or military uniform, just dark pants and a plain jacket. He carried one bag over his shoulder. That was all. This was Earth's best, this unremarkable man. Vosk made a sound that was almost a laugh. This is the volunteer? He looks like a merchant, not a warrior. The human walked toward them with calm, steady steps. His eyes moved across the group, taking in each person, but his face showed no emotion. When he reached Thane, he stopped and gave a small bow of respect. Kang Hyun, he said simply. His voice was quiet but clear. I'm here to help. Thane returned the bow, though he felt doubt growing in his chest. Welcome to Council Station Meridian. I am Counselor Thane, thank you for coming. Hyun nodded once. Show me what you know about the situation. They moved to the tactical briefing room. The space was designed for military planning, with holographic displays and multiple data screens. Lyra stepped forward, her hands shaking as she activated the main display. This is Veridan 7, she said, her voice tight with emotion. A three-dimensional image of the asteroid colony appeared in the center of the room. It's a mining settlement built inside an asteroid. There are 3 main dome sections connected by tunnels. The colony has a population of 4,000. All of them are hostages now. She pulled up more images. The Krell pirates have over 300 warriors. They've set up defensive positions at every entrance. They have automated turrets, shield generators, and heavy weapons. Their leader is Vexthor. An image of the Krell warlord appeared. He was massive, covered in natural armor plating with weapons mounted on his body. He's never been defeated in combat, never. Hyun studied the displays without speaking. His eyes moved from one detail to another, but his expression remained calm. Too calm, Thane thought. Did he not understand how dangerous this was? Commander Vosk crossed his forearms. Let me make this clear, human. You are talking about fighting an entire army. 300 Krell warriors. Each one is twice your size and 3 times your strength. They have military training and advanced weapons. You have... What, that bag? Hyun turned to look at Vosk. His dark eyes met the commander's gaze without fear or anger. I have training, he said simply. I have experience. And I have motivation. That's enough. Enough? Vosk's voice rose with frustration. This is not a training exercise. This is real combat against real enemies. You will die within the first hour, and those hostages will die shortly after. This entire plan is foolish. Commander, Thane said firmly, trying to keep control of the situation. The ambassador sent him. We have to trust what? Vosk interrupted. Trust that one human can do what an entire military fleet cannot? Look at him. He's not even wearing armor. Hyun set his bag down on the floor. When he spoke, his voice was still quiet, but now there was something hard underneath it. You're right. I'm not big. I'm not strong like a Krell. I don't have 4 arms like you, Commander. But I come from Earth. Do you know what that means? Vosk waved one hand dismissively. It means you come from a dangerous world, so what? That doesn't make you a warrior. It means I learned to survive where nothing wanted me to live, Hyun said. His voice never got louder, but somehow it filled the room. Earth has diseases that can kill you in hours, weather that destroys cities, predators that hunt humans for food. The gravity alone would crush most species here. We didn't choose to be strong. We had to be, or we would have died. He turned back to the holographic display of Veridan 7. You see 300 enemies. I see a tactical problem that needs solving. You see impossible odds. I see a mission. This is what humans do, Commander. We face impossible things and find a way through them, because we don't have a choice. The room was silent. Even Vosk seemed unsure what to say. Lyra stared at the human with something that might have been hope starting to grow in her chest. Dr. Kalen, the Mirathi medical specialist, stepped forward. He was a scientist, not a soldier, and his curiosity was stronger than his fear. May I ask something, Kang Hyun? Would you allow me to do a medical scan? I've studied human biology in theory, but I've never examined a human in person. Hyun looked at the doctor for a moment, then nodded. If it's quick, we don't have much time. Kalen used his medical scanner, moving it across Hyun's body. As the data appeared on his screen, his eyes grew wider and wider. He made a small sound of amazement. What is it? Thane asked. His bone structure, Kalen said, his voice filled with scientific wonder. The density is... This should be impossible. His bones would be considered heavy armor plating in most species. And his muscles. The fiber composition is unlike anything in our medical databases. They're designed for both endurance and explosive power. He continued scanning, speaking faster now as he discovered more. His heart operates at pressure levels that would rupture an Althani's cardiovascular system. His blood carries oxygen with extreme efficiency, and these reflex pathways, the neural connections for motor control, they're faster than should be physically possible. Kalen looked up from his scanner, staring at Hyun with new understanding. You're not just a soldier. You're the product of millions of years of surviving on a world that tried to kill you every single day. Your entire species is engineered by evolution to be survivors. Hyun's expression didn't change. We prefer to think of ourselves as adaptable. Commander Vosk looked at the medical data on the screen. Some of his certainty seemed to fade. He didn't apologize, but his voice was less harsh when he spoke. What do you need? 3 things, Hyun said, turning back to the tactical display. First, I need a stealth insertion craft, something small that can slip past their sensors. Second, I need access codes to the colony's environmental control systems. Third, I need 48 hours. 48 hours, Lyra said desperately. The pirates are executing hostages every day. In 48 hours, almost 200 more people will die. Hyun looked at her, and for the first time his expression softened slightly. I know, but if I rush in without preparation, everyone dies, trust me. I'll move as fast as I can. Lyra searched his face, looking for something to believe in. Finally, she nodded. My sister is down there, Nira. She works in the medical section. Please bring her home. I'll bring them all home, Hyun said. It was not a boast or a promise. It was simply a statement of what he intended to do. Thane ordered his staff to prepare everything Hyun had requested. As people rushed to gather equipment and information, Hyun opened his bag. Inside was simple gear. Basic tools, some medical supplies, energy bars, water containers. Nothing impressive, nothing that looked like it could win a war. But Thane was beginning to understand something. This human didn't need impressive weapons or fancy technology. He was the weapon. Earth had forged him in fire and pressure and danger, and now he was ready to do what he was made for. Hyun checked his equipment one piece at a time, his movements calm and methodical. He showed no fear, no doubt, no excitement. He was simply preparing for work. Difficult work, dangerous work, but still just work that needed to be done. When do you want to leave? Thane asked. Hyun looked at his watch, a simple device from Earth. 2 hours. I need to study the colony layout and memorize the patrol patterns from your surveillance data. Then I'll go, 2 hours. Thane had seen warriors prepare for battles that lasted months. This human would be ready in 2 hours. As Hyun sat down to review the tactical data, the others watched him, some with doubt, some with curiosity, some with desperate hope. The Deathworlder had arrived. Soon they would see if Earth's reputation was deserved. The alarm rang through the Galactic Council chamber with a sound that made everyone stop talking. It was the emergency frequency, the one that only activated when something terrible happened. Counselor Thane pressed his hand against the console, and a holographic display appeared in the center of the room. The message was simple but frightening. Under attack. 4,000 civilians hostage. Please help. Veridan 7 mining colony. The council members looked at each other with worry in their eyes. Veridan 7 was a peaceful settlement run by the Althani, a gentle species known for their kindness and their skill in mining rare crystals. They had no weapons, no military, no way to defend themselves. Now they were in terrible danger. Who attacked them? Asked Representative Mira, her blue skin turning pale with concern. The tactical officer pulled up more information. The Krell Pirates, Counselor, led by Vexthor himself. They're demanding payment of 10 million credits or they'll start killing hostages. 100 people will die every day until they get their money. A heavy silence filled the room. Everyone knew about Vexthor. He was cruel and violent, a warlord who had destroyed colonies before. He never made empty threats. If he said he would kill the hostages, he would do it. Commander Vosk, a large warrior from the Zentari species, stood up. His forearms crossed over his chest. We must send our battle fleet immediately. We can reach Veridan 7 in 3 weeks. 3 weeks? Whispered Lyra, the Althani representative. Her voice broke with emotion. My sister is there. My sister Nira and 4,000 others. They'll all be dead in 3 weeks. Thane felt the weight of leadership pressed down on his shoulders. He had served on the council for 40 years, had seen wars and peace treaties, had made decisions that affected billions of lives. But this felt different. This felt impossible. We don't have military forces that can reach them in time, he said slowly. Our nearest rapid response team is in the Outer Rim, dealing with the border dispute. By the time any of our ships arrive, Vexthor will have executed most of the hostages. Then what can we do? Lyra's voice was desperate now. Tears ran down her face. Are we just going to let them die? The room fell silent again. No one had an answer. The Galactic Council was powerful, but space was vast. Time and distance were enemies they couldn't defeat. The council members began talking among themselves, their voices mixing into a sad chorus of helplessness. Then a small voice spoke from the back of the chamber. What about the Deathworlders? Everyone turned to look. It was Junior Delegate Keth, a young representative from one of the newer member worlds. He looked nervous as all eyes focused on him. The Deathworlders? Commander Vosk laughed, but it was not a kind sound. You mean the humans? From Earth? What could they possibly do? Keth's voice grew a little stronger. Earth is only 4 days away from Veridan 7. I checked the star charts. They're one of the closest member species to the colony. Thane felt a small spark of hope. Earth. The strange blue world that had joined the Council only 5 years ago. Everyone had been shocked when the planet's classification came through. Class 12 Death World. It was one of the most dangerous ratings ever recorded. A world where almost everything could kill you, where the weather itself was violent, where diseases and predators and natural disasters happened all the time. The humans had survived all of that. They had not just survived, they had thrived. They had built cities and civilizations on a world that would kill most other species within days. But what did that mean for the current crisis? The humans have no military fleet in this sector, Vosk said dismissively. They're still new to space travel. What help could they offer? Thane made a decision. Open a channel to Earth's ambassador, now. The communication took a few minutes to connect. When the holographic image appeared, it showed Ambassador Park, Earth's representative to the Council. She was a woman with dark hair and sharp eyes. She had been a military leader on Earth before becoming a diplomat. Ambassador Park, Thane said carefully, we have an emergency situation. A colony has been attacked by pirates. 4,000 civilians are being held hostage. They will be executed unless we can mount a rescue operation, but our forces cannot reach them in time. Your world is only 4 days away. I know this is highly unusual, but can Earth help? Ambassador Park's expression didn't change. She was quiet for a long moment, and Thane thought she might refuse. After all, why should humans risk themselves for aliens they barely knew? Earth was still finding its place in galactic society. This was not their problem. But then Park spoke, and her voice was firm and clear. What kind of help do you need? Thane explained the situation quickly. The pirate forces, the hostages, the impossible odds. As he talked, he watched Park's face. She listened to everything without interrupting. When he finished, she asked one simple question. How many people can we send? We're not asking for an army, Thane said quickly. We know Earth doesn't have major forces in this region. But if you have anyone, even a small team, anyone with military experience who could attempt a rescue. Park's eyes seemed to look past him, thinking about something far away. Then she nodded once. We'll send someone. Give me the coordinates and all the intelligence data you have. We'll have our volunteer ready to deploy within 6 hours. Commander Vosk made a sound of disbelief. One person? Ambassador, with respect, we're talking about over 300 armed Krell warriors, automated defense systems, and Vexthor himself. One soldier cannot— You asked for help, Park interrupted him. Her voice was not angry, just stating a fact. We're sending our best. That's what you'll get. The communication ended. The council chamber erupted in arguments. Some members thought it was foolish to rely on one human. Others thought it was better than nothing. Lyra said nothing. She just stared at the empty space where Park's hologram had been, holding on to a thin thread of hope. Thane sent all the data about Veridon 7 to Earth's military command. Then he waited. 6 hours felt like 6 years. He couldn't imagine what kind of person would volunteer for such an impossible mission. What kind of human would agree to face an entire pirate fleet alone? When the response came back, it contained only a name and a brief file. Kang Hyun, former Special Forces, age 34, multiple combat deployments. The file didn't say much else. There were no medals listed, no dramatic achievements, just a simple record of service. Thane looked at the picture attached to the file. It showed an ordinary-looking man with dark hair and calm eyes. He didn't look like a hero from the old stories. He didn't look special at all. But Ambassador Park had called him our best. Thane had to trust that the humans knew what they were doing. Even if he didn't understand it yet, the volunteer was coming. In 4 days, Kang Hyun would arrive at the council station, and then they would see what a Deathworlder could really do.